What if I told you there's a secret BMW garage filled with cars so exclusive? Some countries won't even let them cross the border. It's like Area 51 for gearheads, and we've got the classified intel. From mid-engine supercars to sedans that can stop bullets, these BMWs are the automotive equivalent of forbidden fruit. We've got the inside scoop on these hidden gems, and trust me, you're gonna want to stick around to hear about the craziest ones. It's like peeking behind the curtain of the ultimate car show, and we've got front row seats. Number 1 on our list of forbidden fruit BMWs is the M3 GTS, a car so wild it makes regular M3s look like they belong in the slow lane. Picture this: BMW took an already insane M3, put it on a diet, pumped it full of steroids, and then said, "Nah, this is too much for mere mortals." The result, a track-only beast that's basically illegal everywhere except the racetrack. So what makes this orange monster so special? For starters, BMW yanked out the back seats and replaced them with a roll cage. Because who needs friends when you've got lap times to crush, right? Then they cranked the engine up to 11, squeezing 450 horsepower out of a 4.4-liter V8. That's 36 more horses than the standard M3, which was already no slouch. But here's the kicker. All this awesomeness comes at a price. The M3 GTS is so extreme, it doesn't meet emissions or safety standards for street use in most countries. It's like showing up to a fancy dinner party wearing nothing but racing stripes and a helmet. Sure, you look cool, but you're definitely not getting in. Now, some of you might be thinking, challenge accepted. I'll just modify it to make it street legal. Well, good luck with that. People have tried, but it's like trying to convince your mom that video games are a valid career choice. Expensive, complicated, and probably not worth the hassle. Some die-hard fans have tried backdoor methods to import the M3 GTS, often using false documentation or shipping the car in parts to reassemble it in the US. One of the most well-known failed attempts to import an E92 M3 GTS into the United States involved a car enthusiast who tried to bring one in under the show and display exemption, a loophole allowing rare vehicles to be imported if they have historical or technological significance. The show and display rule allows certain rare cars to be imported for private use, but the M3 GTS did not meet the uniqueness criteria set by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA. Fun fact, BMW only made 135 of these orange track weapons between 2010 and 2011. That's rarer than a politician keeping all their campaign promises, so even if you could drive it on the street, good luck finding one. They're about as common as a BMW driver using their turn signal. Sorry, couldn't resist. 2. The carbon fiber unicorn, BMW M3 CRT E90 2011. So you think the M3 GTS is rare? Hold on to your driving gloves because we're about to meet its even more elusive cousin, the M3 CRT. That's short for carbon racing technology, not can't really touch, though that might be more accurate given how hard these babies are to find. Picture this. BMW decided to take the M3 sedan and put it on a carbon fiber diet. They went absolutely nuts with the stuff, using it for the hood, seats, and even the brake rotors. The result? A 4-door sedan that's lighter than some sports cars and faster than it has any right to be. It's like they took the car to automotive Weight Watchers and it came back as a supermodel. Now, you might be thinking, great, another cool BMW I can't have. And you'd be right. Sort of. See, the M3 CRT was never officially sold in the US, but get this, some clever gearheads have actually managed to import them through a process called federalization. It's like sneaking a supermodel through customs, except it costs about $40,000 extra. Ouch. Here's the kicker, BMW only made 67 of these carbon fiber unicorns. That makes the M3 GTS look as common as potholes in Michigan. And if you're wondering why they're so rare, it's because all that carbon fiber tech was too cutting edge for US safety regulations at the time. It's like BMW showed up to a fancy dinner party wearing clothes from the future and the bouncer was like, nah, too sci-fi for us. But here's where it gets really interesting. The M3 CRT wasn't just a one-off experiment. It was actually laying the groundwork for future BMWs like the i3 and i8. Talk about playing the long game. BMW was thinking so far ahead, they probably had flying cars on the drawing board too. So why all this fuss about a car that's lighter than your average influencer's moral compass? Well, it turns out BMW was onto something big. In the early 2010s, everyone in the car world was trying to shed pounds faster than a reality TV contestant. Carbon fiber was the hot new thing, like kale smoothies for cars. Number 3. The supercar that started it all. BMW M1 E26, 1978 to 1981. What if I told you BMW's first supercar was so ahead of its time, it was basically illegal? Yep, we're talking about the legendary M1, the car that started BMW's love affair with mid-engine madness. Picture this. It's the late 1970s, disco is king, and BMW decides to drop a bombshell on the automotive world. They team up with Lamborghini, yes, that Lamborghini, to create a car that looks like it came straight out of a sci-fi movie. The M1 was like the love child of a race car and a wedge of cheese, sleek, sharp, and distinctly German. Under the hood, it packed a 3.5-liter straight-six engine that could scream all the way to 7,000 RPM. This thing was built to dominate both road and track, but here's the kicker. It was too hot for America to handle. You see, 1970s US regulations weren't ready for this Bavarian bullet. The M1 got slapped with a big fat nope stamp for not meeting emissions and safety standards. It's like showing up to a party in 2070 wearing your coolest 2023 outfit. You look awesome, but you're definitely not getting in. The M1's 3.5-liter inline-six made 273 horsepower, putting it in direct competition with the Ferrari 308 and Lamborghini Countach, despite being BMW's first and only true mid-engine supercar. With a 0 to 60 mph time of 5.4 seconds, it was faster than many Italian exotics of its time. But wait, there's more. BMW only made 453 of these bad boys. That's fewer than the number of people who actually understand cryptocurrency. And get this, today, thanks to the 25-year import rule, the M1 is finally legal in the US. But good luck finding one. These things are rarer than a politician keeping all their campaign promises. Now you might be thinking, cool story, bro, but what's the big deal? Well, the M1 wasn't just a cool-looking 70s supercar, it was actually a time machine in disguise. No, I'm not talking about some Back to the Future DeLorean nonsense. The M1 was so ahead of its time, it makes today's supercars look like they're using stone wheels. This car laid the groundwork for everything BMW M does today. It's like the great-granddaddy of every M3, M5, and M8 you see on the road. And here's a fun fact. Recent sales of well-preserved M1s have seen prices go over $500,000. That's more than $500,000 for a car that's older than most TikTok users. Number 4. The four-wheeled Fortress, BMW 750iL High Security, E38, 1995 to 2001. What if I told you there's a BMW that's basically a rolling fortress? Yeah, we're talking about the 750iL High Security, a car that's part luxury sedan, part tank. Sounds cool, right? Well, in some countries, it's straight up illegal. So what makes this car so special? For starters, it has bulletproof glass. It's got armor plating that can shrug off AK-47 rounds like they're nothing. And if things get really hairy, there's an emergency oxygen system to keep you breathing easy. The tires, they'll keep rolling even when flat. It's like BMW took every spy movie gadget and crammed it into one car. But here's the kicker. Many countries aren't too keen on private citizens cruising around in their own personal Batmobiles. Places like India and Brazil are like, nah, we're good on that. They've put the kibosh on these rolling fortresses faster than you can say diplomatic immunity. Even in Europe, where you'd think they'd be all for fancy cars, you need special permits or security clearances to own one. It's like trying to adopt a tiger as a house pet. Sounds awesome, but probably not the best idea. Check this out. There have been some, let's say, incidents involving these armored BMWs. Turns out, when you make a car that can withstand a small war, some folks get ideas. There have been reports of these cars being used in high-profile criminal activities. So now, owning one of these is about as easy as explaining to your mom why you need a flamethrower for home defense. One of the most well-known high-profile uses of the BMW 750 occurred in South Africa during the 1990s, when the armored car saved the life of Nelson Mandela's bodyguard during a violent ambush. In 1994, following Mandela's election as South Africa's first democratically elected president, political tensions remained high. Mandela and his inner circle required the highest level of protection, and the BMW 750iL High Security was chosen as part of his official convoy due to its discreet yet heavily armored build. During an assassination attempt on one of Mandela's bodyguards, gunmen opened fire on the 750 IL high security in a targeted attack. The car was hit with multiple rounds from high-powered rifles, but its reinforced bulletproof glass and armor plating absorbed the shots, allowing the occupants to escape unharmed. The 750 IL high security was also famously used by Vladimir Putin as one of his early official state vehicles, Michael Jackson, and also Prince Albert of Monaco. So unless you're a head of state or a supervillain, no judgment, this BMW Fortress is off limits. Probably for the best, right? I mean, can you imagine the road rage incidents if everyone was driving around in bulletproof cars? It'd be like bumper cars, but way more expensive. Number 5. The hybrid that California hated, BMW i3, range extender model, 2014 to 2021. Number 1. Let's talk about the BMW that California actually banned for being too electric. Yeah, you heard that right. The i3REX was BMW's clever solution to range anxiety, an electric car with a tiny gas engine backup. It's like a mullet, electric in the front, gas business in the back, well under the floor. But this smart idea ran into a wall of regulations in Tesla's home state. Here's the deal. The i3REX can run on pure electricity, but if you run out of juice, a little motorcycle engine kicks in to charge the battery. Sounds pretty sweet, right? But California said, nope. The gas engine didn't meet their strict emissions rules for certain model years. So in the state known for embracing electric cars, this partially electric BMW was shown the door. Talk about irony. Fun fact, the BMW i3REX actually has a tiny 2.4-gallon gas tank. That's like trying to quench your thirst with a shot glass of water after running a marathon. But hey, at least it's not as ridiculous as bulletproof bumper cars, right? Now, you'd think adding a gas backup to an electric car would be a slam dunk, but life's never that simple. The i3REX is more like that friend who offers to help you move but shows up with a smart car. Useful in theory, but in practice, not so much. To be fair, back in 2014, experts thought the i3 was the answer to our electric car prayers. Now we know it's more like a band-aid on a bullet wound, but who knows, maybe we'll all be driving cars powered by leftover pizza in 2030. I mean, stranger things have happened in the car world. So, what's the deal with California's beef against the i3REX? Is it just sour grapes? Or is there more to this electric drama? Well, it turns out that sometimes being half electric isn't good enough. California wanted all or nothing, and the i3REX was caught in the middle, like a vegetarian at a barbecue. Number 6. The Roadster with Vanishing Doors, BMW Z1, 1989 to 1991. Alright, let's keep this automotive roller coaster going, shall we? Speaking of cars that don't quite fit in, let me tell you about another BMW that's got more quirks than a cat cafe. Did you know there's a BMW that's basically a transformer? Yeah, I'm talking about the Z1, the car with doors that go down instead of out. We've seen some weird car doors before, but these take the cake. Number 2, the key to making your friends say, "What the heck?" lies in the Z1's vertically retracting doors that actually drop into the body of the car. I'm not kidding. They literally disappear like they're playing hide and seek. The BMW Z1's doors are moved by electric motors attached to rubber belts. It's like they took inspiration from a fancy window blind and thought, you know what? Let's put that on a car. Because why not, right? Now you'd think a car with vanishing doors would be the talk of the town everywhere, but here's the kicker. The Z1 never made it to the US. Turns out those fancy doors were about as welcome in America as a vegetarian at a Texas BBQ. The US safety folks took one look at those disappearing doors and said, nope, not gonna fly. Apparently they weren't too keen on doors that might decide to play peekaboo during a crash. But here's what I really want to know. Who at BMW woke up one day and decided, you know what would be cool? If the doors went down instead of out. Was it a light bulb moment, or did someone spill coffee on the blueprints? The world may never know, but I bet it made for some interesting water cooler chat at BMW headquarters. Fun fact, BMW only made about 8,000 of these quirky roadsters between 1989 and 1991. That's fewer cars than there are people in some small towns. And get this, the Z1 has a plastic body that you can swap out to change colors. It's like a life-size Hot Wheels for grown-ups. I mean, who doesn't want a car they can change outfits with? Number 7, the track monster that Canada rejected, BMW M4 GTS F82 2016. Just when you thought BMW couldn't get any wilder, they decided to crank things up to 11 with the M4 GTS. This isn't your average M4. It's like they took a regular one, put it through superhero boot camp, and gave it a cool orange paint job. But here's the kicker. Canada took one look at this beast and said, "Sorry, but that's a no from us." Did you know the M4 GTS packs a whopping 493 horsepower? That's not just a little bump. It's like they strapped a rocket to the back of a regular M4. But BMW didn't just crank up the power, they got all sciencey with it. They added a water injection system that cools down the engine's intake air. It's like giving the engine a nice refreshing drink while it's working overtime. Talk about high-tech hydration. BMW's water injection system, developed in collaboration with Bosch, works by spraying a fine mist of distilled water into the intake manifold. This lowers the temperature of the intake air, allowing the engine to run at higher boost pressures and ignition timing without knocking. Number 2, this car is so low to the ground you'd need a periscope to see speed bumps. The suspension can drop so far, it's like the car is trying to hug the road. Great for track days, not so great for Canadian potholes, apparently. Fun fact, BMW only made about 700 of these road-legal race cars. That's fewer cars than there are flavors of ice cream at your local shop. To put its extreme nature in perspective, the M4 GTS is more track-focused than many of its competitors. It's got more carbon fiber than a spacecraft and a roll cage that would make NASCAR jealous. So while Americans can theoretically cruise around in this orange speed demon, Canadians can only admire it from afar. It's like having a supermodel neighbor, but your mom won't let you talk to them. To be fair, the M4 GTS is probably too much car for public roads anyway. It's got more track focus than a NASCAR pit crew. Now, I've got to ask, what's the deal with BMW and making cars that countries don't want? First the Z1 in the US, now the M4 GTS in Canada. Is this some kind of elaborate game of automotive keep away? And more importantly, what's BMW cooking up next that might ruffle some regulatory feathers? Number 8, the wagon that went too far, BMW M5. Touring E34, 1992 to 1995. Just when you thought BMW couldn't get any crazier with their car bans, they go and make a wagon that's too hot for America to handle. Yep, we're talking about the E34 M5 Touring, the unicorn of station wagons that BMW decided Americans didn't deserve. Picture this, a station wagon that can smoke sports cars while hauling groceries. Sounds perfect, right? Well, not if you live in America. BMW made this super wagon back in the 90s, and it was like the Hulk of family cars. All muscle, but with room for your IKEA haul. They only made 891 of these beasts, which is fewer than the number of flavors at your local ice cream shop. Talk about exclusive. The E34 M5 Touring packed a 3.6-liter straight-six engine with 340 horsepower. That's like strapping a jet engine to a minivan. It could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.9 seconds, matching the acceleration of contemporary sports cars. Imagine smoking a Corvette at a stoplight, with your kids and groceries in tow. BMW never even bothered to submit it for US emissions or crash testing. Why? Well, the 90s American car market was all about big SUVs and minivans. Fast wagons weren't exactly flying off the lots. Plus, the 1990s were like the Wild West for car regulations. The US had stricter rules than Europe, which is why we missed out on so many cool rides. It's like America was the strict parent, while Europe was the cool uncle letting the kids stay up late and eat ice cream for dinner. Now I've got to ask, what was BMW thinking when they made a wagon that could smoke sports cars but couldn't cross the pond? And more importantly, how many other automotive unicorns are out there just waiting for their chance to gallop onto American roads? Number 9, the V10 wagon of our dreams, BMW M5 E60 Touring, 2007 to 2010. Alright car fans, remember how we were just drooling over that E34 M5 Touring that BMW cruelly kept from American shores? Well, hold on to your dipsticks because that wasn't the end of BMW's wagon tease. They went and did it again, but this time with a V10 engine. Yeah, you heard that right. A V10 in a station wagon. Meet the E60 M5 Touring, the wagon that thinks it's a Formula One car. BMW took the already insane M5 sedan with its 5.0-liter V10 engine and stuffed it into a long roof body. The result? A family hauler that could rev to 8,250 RPM. That's not a typo, folks. We're talking about a station wagon that screams louder than your kids on a sugar rush. Fun fact, this wagon could hit 60 miles per hour in 4.5 seconds. That's faster than most sports cars, all while carrying a Labrador and a week's worth of groceries. It's like the automotive equivalent of that super fit dad at the playground who can do one-handed push-ups while holding a baby. Now, you might be thinking, why would anyone need a station wagon that can smoke a Porsche? And to that, I say, why not? It's like having a mullet. Practical in the front, party in the back. Except in this case, the party is a V10 engine that thinks it belongs in a race car. Did you know that high-performance wagons like the E60 M5 Touring are super popular in Europe? It's like they've cracked the code on how to have your cake and eat it too, or in this case, have your family car and smoke Porsches too. Meanwhile, we're stuck here in America, pressing our noses against the glass, watching all the cool wagons pass us by. Number 10, the little M that could. BMW 1 Series M Coupe, 2011. So we've been shedding tears over those European wagons we can't have, but don't worry, BMW didn't completely forget about us speed-hungry Americans. They threw us a bone, and what a juicy bone it was. Enter the 1 Series M Coupe, or 1M for short. Let's sink our teeth into this little pocket rocket, shall we? BMW's made some pretty cool M cars over the years, but the 1M's secret sauce is its rarity. Get this, BMW only made about 6,300 of these bad boys worldwide, and guess how many made it to the US? A measly 740. That's rarer than a parking spot in New York City on a Friday night. The BMW 1 Series M Coupe was never part of BMW's original plan. Unlike other M cars, it wasn't developed from scratch. Instead, it was a fast-track project driven by BMW M engineers who wanted to create a purist M car before the industry shifted to heavier, more tech-laden models. Because the project had limited time and budget, BMW only approved it because it borrowed components from other models, keeping costs low. Back in 2011, most people thought the 1M was just another sporty coupe. Now we know it's basically a money-printing machine for its owners. Seriously, well-kept 1 Series M coupes are now selling for $50,000 to $70,000. That's more than they cost new. It's like Bitcoin, but with horsepower. And unlike crypto, you can actually drive this investment. The 1 Series M coupe can hit 60 miles per hour in just 4.7 seconds. That's faster than you can say, why didn't I buy one when they were new? It's like BMW took all the fun of those forbidden M wagons and crammed it into a smaller, more American-friendly package. Most people think the 1M is just a souped-up 1 Series, but the truth is it's more like a mini M3. The real shocker? They're both wrong because this little monster is actually the spiritual successor to the legendary E30 M3. How's that for a plot twist? To be fair, the 1 Series M Coupe isn't banned or illegal like some of the other cars we've talked about, but with only 740 in the whole country, you've probably got a better chance of spotting Bigfoot than seeing one of these on the road. It's proof that sometimes the most desirable BMWs are the ones you can have, but probably never will. So there you have it, folks. 10 BMWs that are basically automotive forbidden fruit. From track day monsters to bulletproof luxury sedans, these cars prove that sometimes the coolest rides are the ones you can't have. It's like BMW looked at their lineup and said, let's make some cars so awesome we have to keep them away from people. But here's the thing, for every banned BMW, there's probably some determined gearhead out there trying to figure out how to get one. It's like a high-stakes game of hide and seek, except instead of hiding behind the couch, you're trying to sneak a supercar past customs. Who knows what wild rides they'll dream up next? So next time you're at a car show and spot a weird-looking BMW, take a good look. You might just be seeing one of these unicorns that somehow made it to our shores. And if you do, maybe snap a picture. It'll last longer than your driver's license if you try to take it for a spin.